All right, so if the audio is recording, it looks like it. Our goal for this video is to do part B and D from the front or the letter side of the green sheet. And this is very similar to the last one in that there are, well, let's start a new document. First, let's close this document. It'll go back to our main screen. We are in the correct folder, and let's create a document. We'll call this one part B. And here we go. And we're going to do very similar to the last one. It has a lot of the same skills required. Why is it like that? That's weird. And stop clicking. Okay. Like I said, a lot of the same skills required as far as our process. We're going to start with a big chunk that is 5 tall, 8 wide, and also 5 deep. Then we're going to cut out this corner and this corner in the same move. So we're going to put both of those sketches on both of those rectangles on the same sketch. And when we extrude, we'll select both of these. And we really could do all 3, but just to simplify it, we'll do it in 2 steps. And let's go ahead and start with our first chunk. We're going to do a new sketch. It's still red. We need to choose where to sketch. We're going to choose the front face. And at this point, I'm going to turn off the visibility of the origin point and all 3 origin planes because we have our sketch plane visible. And let's look at it straight on. And again, F11 is a good way to do some more pixels. And actually, I do like the origin point to snap to. So we'll start with our basic rectangle. That is going to be our total height, which is 5, by our total width, which is 8. And then we're done with the sketch. Let's look at it from a corner. And I'll turn off the point now. Let's extrude it. We need to choose what to extrude because it's still red. We haven't chosen anything to extrude. We need to choose our rectangle and we want to extrude at 5. Okay. And so now we need to choose draw what we want to cut out. And we need a rectangle that's up here and one that's over here. And both of these snap to the top corner. And they're the same size, but going in instead of going in the various directions. And the dimensions of these rectangles, they are both 2 inches in, come on now, 2 inches in this direction. They are both 2 inches wide and 2.5 tall. You got to look kind of closely, but they're the same size, just going in from the left and in from the right. Okay, and in order to draw this, we need a new sketch. Where do we want to sketch? We want to sketch on the front face. So we'll click there and we're sketching. So let's look at it straight on. Zoom out, give us a little more space. We'll do one rectangle that snaps to the top left corner here. Click once on the corner, click again to set it, and do the same thing over here. Click on the corner, go in, click again to set it. Let's get the dimension tool, and we want to dimension the height to 2.5 and the width to 2 on both of them. Okay, and we're done here. So we'll finish sketch. We're about to do a 3D move. So let's look at it from a 3D point of view. Although I don't like how you can barely see things from this angle. You can see where our rectangles are. Let's extrude. And we need to choose what we want to extrude. We want to choose both this rectangle and this rectangle. We want to do the same thing to both of them, but we don't want to add material. We want to remove material. And we want to remove anything 5 or greater. Oh, yeah, that's even better. This is a good thing to know. So we'll right where I was before, extrude, choose both things, remove, and instead of blind, you can just do through all, and it will cut all the way back, and you don't have to remember. Now, why is that important? This is an aside. If we do what we did before and just did 5, while that looks the same, if we go back to this first extrusion and edit it and decide, well, instead of 5 deep, it's 6 deep, our cut isn't going to be all of it. Where if we make this cut instead of a certain depth, we do through all, and then we'll go back to the first extrusion and edit that to a different size, it would still be through all because of the way it's defined. So we'll call it best practice to use through all as our extrusion in this case. Okay, so we're done with our first part. The next part is a rectangle, again, on the bottom here, that is 1 tall and 6 wide. But this one, again, doesn't snap to a corner. So we're going to need to dimension how far from the side it is, which in this case is 1 also. So let's start a sketch. Where do we want to sketch? On the front face. Let's look at it from the front face. We need a rectangle. We need to make sure that it snaps to the bottom edge, but not the corner and not the center point. Just make it look roughly correct, which first click here, second click here. And let's dimension the size of the rectangle, which is 6 wide and 1 tall. I'm going to put the dimension here because we'll need it in a second. And I'm going to hit escape to get rid of the dimension tool because I want to sort of resize it. You can see here, the whole thing moves. And that's because we have constrained the width of our new rectangle, but we still need to say where it's going to go. And we'll get the dimension tool. And here we need the distance from the side of the rectangle to the side of everything. And that is a size of 1. And with that, we're fully constrained. We're done with the sketch. Let's do an extrusion. Again, we'll look at it from a corner. Choose our rectangle, switch to remove, and instead of blind, switch to through all and hit OK. Okay, there is part B. And let's fly through part D also. So a new close document, create document, part D. And part D, we're going to do all additive, meaning we aren't going to do any cutaways. We're going to start with a sketch that's this big and extrude it the depth. And then once we have that, we're going to make two rectangles on top and extrude them up. So again, we'll start with a sketch. We'll choose the front face. Let's turn off the origin things. We're sketching. Let's look at it straight on. And the size of our starting rectangle is going to be 2 tall and 7 wide. So we have our sketch. Let's get our rectangle, make it however big, dimension the height to 2 and the width to 7. And we're done with the sketch, our first sketch. Look at it from a corner and we'll do extrude. And the size we want to extrude it is 6. The distance from our first rectangle, which is what we have, all the way to the back is a distance of 6, and that will create this bottom sort of platform thing. So what do we want to extrude? We want to extrude the rectangle we just drew, and the depth is 6, check mark. And so the two bumps on the top. We're gonna put a sketch on the top face and make rectangles that are here and here. And then extrude them up. Okay, these rectangles snap to the bottom or to the back corner that's nearest them. And they are a width of 2 and a depth, since we're looking at it from the top, a depth of 3. And we can do it in the same extrusion. So we'll do a sketch on top. We're sketching, so let's look at it straight on from the top. And let's get a rectangle. And we'll set a rectangle there, and we can set another one over here. Let's dimension the width here to 2. And this is actually the depth, since we're looking at it from the top. Same thing here, 2 and 3. Check mark. Let's look at it from a corner, and let's do an extrusion. What do we want to extrude? Both of the rectangles we made, and we want to extrude them a distance, in this case, a height of 2, and check mark. And there we go. There is part D. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.